Hey friends, welcome back. And today I've got something absolutely critical to share with you. If you're receiving Social Security, if you rely on that monthly check to cover essentials like groceries, medication, and this video could be the most important one you watch this year because what I'm about to break down for you isn't rumor. It's not speculation. It isn't some might happen someday. Promise. This is real immediate, and if it passes as currently proposed, it could mean an extra $200 added to your Social Security benefit every single month starting in January 2026. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've heard promises before, you've seen headlines you hoped would help only to see them fade away. But this time, the conversation in Washington isn't about someday, it's happening right dot now. And what I'm going to do in this video is walk you through every detail you need to know who qualifies, what the proposal actually says, how much money we're talking about, when it could start, and most importantly, what you can do about it, because this video isn't just about information, it's about action. So take a deep breath, grab a pen if you want to take notes, and let's dive in together. My name is Tony, and on this channel, we cover Social Security, Medicare benefits, retirement income, and how all of it affects your financial security. I read the bills so you don't have to. I break down confusing government language into plain English that actually makes sense. And today, you're getting the full breakdown on this proposed boost to your benefits. Let's start with the big picture. What exactly is being proposed? Congress is considering legislation that would provide an additional $200 per regular Social Security benefit starting in January 2026 and running through July 2026. That's 7 months of extra income. That's $1,400 more for you over that time period. For someone living on a fixed income, that could mean the difference between worrying about how to pay for your medications and actually being able to afford them without stress. Now, to be clear, this isn't the standard cost of living adjustment or COLA that every Social Security recipient sees once a year. This would be separate from your regular benefit, and it's meant to act as emergency relief. Some make up for the fact that increases in inflation have often outpaced the increases in your benefits. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But first, let's look at who would get this extra $200 if the proposal passes according to the current language of the bill. And I'll walk you through the specifics so you understand exactly who qualifies. Anyone receiving a federal benefit that parallels Social Security retirement benefits would be eligible. That includes, people receiving Social Security retirement benefits, individuals on supplemental security income SSI, veterans receiving VA disability compensation, veterans receiving VA pension benefits, railroad retirement recipients, that's the group of folks who worked for the railroads and now receive payments similar to Social Security. In other words, if you're already receiving income from one of these programs, you would automatically qualify for the extra $200 a month. Now, let's take a moment to contrast this with the reality most people are facing right now. Earlier this year, many seniors were disappointed by the official 2026 cost of living adjustment, the COLA increase, which turned out to be much smaller than expected. Some people saw an increase of only $40 or $50 a month, and at the same time, Medicare Part B premiums are going up by about 10% next year, taking a huge chunk out of that tiny increase. So when you look at what most people actually took home, many seniors ended up with almost no net gain at all. That's where this proposed $200 boost comes in. It's meant to offset some of that shortfall and to give seniors, veterans, and other fixed income recipients some breathing room. Now, let's talk about the bill itself and who's backing it. The legislation is called the Social Security Emergency Inflation Relief Act, and it's being sponsored by some of the most prominent Democratic leaders in the Senate. The main sponsor is Senator Elizabeth Warren, known for pushing on behalf of consumers, seniors, and everyday Americans. She's been joined on the bill by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, as well as other senators, including Kirsten Gillibrand and Ron Wyden. You know, backbench senators. They're influential lawmakers with experience and visibility. And right now, they're arguing that inflation over the last several years has eaten up more of your purchasing power than the regular cost of living adjustments have made up for. In fact, surveys suggest that a large majority of older Americans, about 77%, say that the current 2026 Social Security increase isn't enough to cover basic needs. That figure comes from a senior advocacy study, and it shows just how widespread the frustration is among retirees and others on fixed incomes. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's also talk truthfully about the political realities surrounding this proposal. Right now, this bill has strong support from Democratic senators, but the Senate is still controlled by the Republican Party. That means that even with Democrats fully backing the proposal, it only has the Democratic votes right now. And to pass it needs a bipartisan majority. That means several Republicans would need to support it as well. So, yes, there is a real possibility that this bill may not pass in its current form. But here's the important part: just because something starts out as unlikely doesn't mean it's dead. In the water, bills evolve, they change, they gain supporters, and that's where you come in. In this video, I'll walk you through what we know, what's likely, and what's possible. I'll break down the bill's details. I'll show you how much money we're really talking about, and I'll tell you exactly what you can do to make your voice heard. Because if there's one thing lawmakers pay attention to more than anything else, it's constituent pressure, seniors calling their senators and representatives to voice their support. Because the truth is this: you worked your whole life, you paid into Social Security, and you deserve benefits that help you live with dignity. If Congress is going to hear you, you need to speak up. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in the next section. So if this sounds like something you want to take action on, stick with me. We've got a lot more to cover.